in 30 seconds. Councilmember Daniels, do you need some help?
I'm good. We got it.
Okay. I'm Mayor John Lewis. Welcome to our November the 7th Gilbert Town Council meeting. I officially call the meeting to order. The invocation and pledge of allegiance will go as follows. We have invited, with a lot of our great scouts here, one of our scout leaders, Wayne Cyrick, to give the invocation. And after the invocation, Councilmember Daniels will introduce one of our scouts to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then she will introduce the rest of the scouts. Wayne, if you could come forward. And as you come forward, we will invite those here in council chambers to please arise.
Our beloved Father in heaven, how grateful we are to gather this night. We're grateful to gather as friends and neighbors and civic leaders, and we're especially grateful for the wonderful leaders of this great town of Gilbert that we have, and we ask thy continued blessings upon the great town of Gilbert, the residents that live here, and may we all have a sense of community and look for ways to be involved and engaged in making our community a better place to live. We're grateful for this great nation that we live in and give thee thanks for all that we have, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Mayor Carson will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carson. Carson, you're going to lead the way today for all of these good-looking scouts in their uniforms. Tell us your name and your rank.
My name is Carson, and I'm a junior Weeblo.
Excellent. Thank you, Carson. All right, you can line up with your friends. We're going to pass this mic around. We're going to start with these leaders.
My name is Bill Valenti, Assistant Den Leader of the Junior Webelos.
My name is Kerry Latham. I'm the Assistant Scoutmaster of these young men in the back here.
My name's Adam West. I'm Scoutmaster for Troop 591.
My name is Jared Ryan. My rank is a tenderfoot.
My name is Guy Newburn, and I'm in first class.
My name is Trevor Price. I'm a first class.
My name is Marshall Hammond, and I'm a first class.
My name is Trenton Terry, and I'm a tenderfoot.
My name is Hunter Beeson, and I'm a first class.
My name is Tyler Beeson, and I'm first class.
My name is Drew Dalton, and I'm scout.
My name is Vincent Jorgensen. I'm a tenderfoot.
My name is Isaac Lagerholm, and I'm a first class.
My name is Ben West, and I'm a first class.
My name is David Jensen, and I'm tenderfoot.
My name is Davis Rush, and I'm a scout.
My name is Chandler Bogle, and I'm a scout.
My name is Zane Mason, and I am a scout.
My name is Joey Sager, and I'm a tenderfoot.
My name is Logan Lake, and I'm a tenderfoot.
Wayne Cyrick, Scoutmaster.
Diana Benson Sorensen. I'm the co-leader of the Junior Webelos in PAC 322.
I'm Brandon Valentier, and I am in PAC 322.
My name is Peyton McKernan, and I'm in Webelos.
Junior.
My name is Marty Brown, and I'm in Junior Weeble.
I'm Son, and I'm Junior Weebo.
My name is Ethan Ogden, and I am a Junior Weebelo.
My name is Weston Vincent Sorensen, and I am a Junior Weebelo.
My name is Nathan Sue, and I'm a Junior Weebelo.
My name is Clayton Weberg, and I'm a Junior Weebelo. My name is Turner Spafford, and I'm a Junior Weebelo.
My name is Carson Howland, and I'm a Junior Weebelo.
Mayor, if we could have a round of applause for the future leaders of Gilbert.
Thank you. You may be seated, and I understand you have all been given a copy of the Constitution, and thank you for that leadership that you've displayed and you will in the future. Our deputy clerk will now conduct the roll call.
Mayor Lewis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cooper.
Here.
Councilmember Cook. Here. Councilmember Daniels. Here. Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Councilmember Ray.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. First agenda item, Councilmember Peterson will read the Pillar of the Month citizenship.
As council members and town staff, we are committed to helping the community be a better place to live and work by sharing resources to serve others, following all laws and regulations, and protecting the environment.
Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 3, and then we will come back to 2. Councilmember Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I have Smiley Gonzalez please come to the front with all of his team members and friends? Smiley has served our community for 18 years, and we're here to acknowledge his service to the town for the last 18 years and thank him for his service to all of us. So first of all, can we just share a round of applause for Smiley for all his years of work there. But first of all, I think we'll let some of his other team members introduce themselves, and then I think there may be a little bit of a story that they can share with us in the community.
I'm Jack Minkaus. I'm the interim assistant administrator.
I'm Mark Hunsaker. I'm one of the crew leaders. I'm Ken Morgan, the public works director, and I'll let them share the story.
Well, Smiley said, what happens in the garbage truck stays in the garbage truck. But for his many years of service, Smiley's been a good example as a worker, always willing to go the extra mile. Normally, he's one of the ones that will take the time when people bring their children out. People love garbage trucks. I don't know why, but they're more popular than if we go show up anywhere. There's a fire truck, there's a police car, there's a garbage truck. All the kids want to get in the garbage truck. Smiley, on his routes, he has little kids that are having time to know when he's going to be there so that he can wave and honk his horn. There's a little trick they know how to do with the arm where they grab the can and they can shake it up and down like it's waving at them. So and Smiley's real good at that. And we have these little foam garbage trucks and trash containers he hands out to the little children, and he'll be sorely missed on his routes. Whoever gets his routes are going to have to step up for the job that he does. And we're going to miss him.
Well, that's a great story. Thank you, Mark. Let me just read a very small portion of this certificate of appreciation on behalf of the Office of the Mayor. On behalf of the Town Council and the citizens of Gilbert, it is with respect and gratitude for Smiley Gonzalez' service to the people of Gilbert that Mayor Lewis extends our appreciation for his outstanding contributions and hard work, and we wish him the best in his retirement. Thank you, Smiley.
Kurt, please, agenda item number 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Council, I am Kurt Sharp, Special Assistant to the Mayor, and I'm here to briefly set the stage for our next presentation. About 3 weeks ago, Mayor Lewis and I met with the new Executive Director of the Gilbert Education Foundation, and at that meeting we learned, we got a good update on what's been going on there. And at that meeting, she mentioned that she had a presentation that she'd like to give, and she is here to give that presentation to you all tonight. But before Leanne comes up here, the president of the foundation, Dr. Adelaida Severson, would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Kurt. Good evening, Mayor Lewis, Town Council members, and members of the audience. As he said, my name is Adelaida Severson, and I do wear a couple of hats in this community as a community volunteer, as a business owner, and as a mother. But I come to you probably with the most important hat, which is the president of the Gilbert Education Foundation, and we're really pleased to be able to come again this year to update you on what has been going on. Mayor Lewis, you always tout that it's really important that education, government, and business all work with and for each other to create a better Gilbert. And I believe that the Gilbert Education Foundation can do that. We are the fundraising arm of the Gilbert Public Schools. And one of the major changes that happened since we met with you last year was that we did hire Leanne, and really am pleased to introduce her to all of you. She comes to us with a lot of passion. She hits the ground running. And as you probably saw when you met with her, that she just has a lot of gumption and wanting to make everything work. So first of all, I wanted to thank all of you for your support of the Gilbert Education Foundation and to welcome Leanne as she does her presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis and council members and Gilbert citizens. I thank you for allowing the Gilbert Education Foundation to speak to you for a few minutes tonight. I'd like to just talk to you briefly about a few things. Some you may know, some you may not know, but I wanted to share with you the Gilbert Education Foundation's mission, story, the pillars we support, and our opportunities. And as you can see, the mission of our foundation is to create opportunities for our community to be engaged and invest in the students of Gilbert Public Schools and our mission for a world-class education. We really believe that excellent education is the key not only to the future of our children, but also the future of our community. A little bit about Gilbert Education Foundation. We started in about 2001. We are a nonprofit organization, as Adelaida mentioned, that aids Gilbert Public Schools. We are basically their fundraising arm. And our goal is to help our students learn and grow, accomplish, serve, and leave a legacy. So we do that in a couple of ways. The first point you'll see is we have a scholarship and service program. Since the inception of Gilbert Education Foundation, we've given more than $500,000 to our students and their families and educators in our community. We also have a program that we've put together to help our students learn how to serve their community and give back. So I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. The other thing we do is we engage the business community. with Gilbert Public Schools. We've started a campus tour program where we've opened the doors for the business community to meet with our educators and our students. They learn about what the students are doing. The students learn about the businesses in our community, and it kind of just opens some dialogue for engagement and maybe some mentorships. Some things like that can arise from it. But we have started a Project Lead the Way curriculum. Project Lead the Way, for those of you who don't know, is a project-based curriculum, and it provides students real-world opportunities. We've got 3 programs right now in Gilbert Public Schools. We've got one at Desert Ridge High School, we've got one at Campo Verde High School, and we just began our most recent program with the support of Orbital Sciences at Mesquite High School, and it's an engineering aerospace program. So we're really excited about that. And the way that came together was cooperation between the mayor, economic development, and business. So we were able to bring them together with our school system to create this new aerospace program. So freshmen and sophomores are just starting right now to learn about becoming an aerospace engineer. So our 5 pillars are our scholarship program. We offer scholarships to seniors in high school for post-secondary education. We offer scholarships to Gilbert Public Schools employees, and we also offer classroom grants. So that's what we do with our fundraising. We are strong supporters, as I mentioned, of science, technology, engineering, and math with our STEM education program. We also have a varsity letter in volunteerism, and that's where I mentioned where we work with our students to get them more engaged in community service and giving back to the community. Students freshmen through senior year can actually earn their varsity letter. One of the biggest things we do is our social service pillar, and we work with the United Way. Gilbert Public Schools is our largest contributor. Last year we had about roughly $30,000 in funds given to us, and we've used that money to help the students and their families of Gilbert Public Schools. And we've also had the opportunity to help many of the Gilbert Public Schools staff. The last thing that we do, and our last area of focus that is just kind of developing at this point, is our alumni program. And I just want to make note of that we'd like you to keep your eyes open for an alumni event. We'll be holding it in the community next spring, and we're going to hopefully honor some alumni, and we're going to center it around the characters of the pillars of character. So watch for that, please. I mentioned we had an opportunity. We've got lots of ways for the community, the business community, and the residents of Gilbert to become involved with the Gilbert Education Foundation and help us support our mission and our goal. So this is just one of the ways that some examples of our stewardship. And then I talk to a lot of people, and I seem to get the same question over and over. I got this question from Mayor Lewis: how can we help? And so we're here tonight really just to let you know what we do, let you know that Gilbert Education is active and engaged in the community, and we would appreciate any opportunities that you can do to make introductions for us in the business community. I know I've had an opportunity to sit down with Mayor Lewis, as you mentioned, and Kurt Sharp. I've also had an opportunity to meet with Councilmember Ray, and I've also had the opportunity to meet with Dan Henderson. And I just want to share with you what we do. And I know there are ways that you may be engaged or become involved in our program, but if you for some reason cannot, you may know people who have an interest in supporting public education, and you could help us with our vision by making that connection for us. So I'd like to thank you tonight for your time. I'd like to invite you to go to our website, which is www.gefaz.org, and take a look around. And definitely give me a call if we could sit down and have a one-on-one. I would love to meet with you in person, face-to-face, in a smaller setting. So please give me a call. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to education team members who are here, thank you. And then I see a couple of tigers to my right, maybe a toro in there too, but so right here, some great output from our Gilbert Public Schools. We, before we go to communication from citizens, November on our town calendar is filled with a lot of activities. Today, I'll mention, was an inspiring Veterans Day celebration. All those involved, thank you. Rick Romley was the keynote speaker. Performance of Williamsfield High School, Higley High School with the music, and great event. So all involved, thank you. And then other events, the celebrity basketball game a week from Saturday. The Experience Arizona is, there are some former NBA players coming, and they have 4 individuals from the town of Gilbert. One will be the mayor, the town manager performing. The fire chief and police chief, I think they delegated, Patrick, and so I don't see their pictures up there, but as you get more details, we invite you to put this on your calendar. This will be at Mesquite High School. Kurt Sharp will be the one if you have a desire to get tickets. $2 donations, I understand, and it looks like it will be a lot of fun. And when we officially announce who the former NBA players are, I don't know if people will be rushing to the door to see them play or to see the 2 players who are on the screen. But thank you. The next slide, Street of Dreams. We continue to encourage Gilbert residents to spread the word that individuals throughout the United States, this is their time to come to Gilbert. And there are 5 homes on display to look at all sorts of building that's taking place in the 2013 timeframe of all the modern conveniences. It's a wonderful event, and it's taking place through December the 1st. The last slide we bring up, family activities. This is found on the town calendar. We finished our Veterans Day celebration today, and there will be at the Higley Unified School District tomorrow some more celebrations with our veterans, and then Saturday. Many of the council members will be there along with the Campo Verde High School Band at the East Valley Veterans Day Parade, starting in downtown Mesa, 11 a.m. And then November 15th, our Gilbert Days 5K run, and so far, are all 7 of the council members in? On Tuesday, Councilmember Daniels gave us a challenge, and I think you committed us, right? I did. Okay. So the council, now did we get our town manager committed on that one too? Absolutely. Yeah. Nice. 8 of us will be in the 5K, or is it the 1 mile? One or the other. And Gilbert Days Rodeo. Please look for opportunities, and as that is announced in the papers, the November 22nd to the 24th. And Gilbert Days Parade, Saturday the 23rd. We did announce at our Veterans Day celebration today that at our Gilbert Days Parade, the Grand Marshals will be a very special group. It will be, over the last 2 years, those that have been recognized in our Operation Welcome Home ceremony. And we will have a great time recognizing them and encourage you to come and see those Grand Marshals at work. Our Gilbert Days Red, White, and Blue Festival will take place right after the parade here at Town Hall. It will be filled with many fun activities, music, and town manager is involved in something, but I can't say it to the public yet, but you'll want to be here for that. And then the Nights of Lights will open up in December. So that's a high-level family activities. Please get that on your calendar, and thank you to all involved. We now move on the agenda to communication from citizens. And Vice Mayor Cooper, do we have? Okay. Then let's go to the consent calendar. So Vice Mayor Cooper confirmed we did not have any requests. Let me just make sure in council chambers that's correct. Okay. We'll move to the consent calendar. As noted on the agenda, items listed on the consent calendar may be approved by a single motion or removed at the request of council for further discussion or action. Other items on the agenda may be added to the consent calendar and approved under a single motion. Vice Mayor Cooper, what requests do we have on the consent calendar?
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent calendar, items 5 through 20, pulling item 7 for discussion, bringing item 30 forward with a recommendation from Councilmember Taylor.
Mayor Lewis, I recommend Kevin Boudreau, Bob Steiger, and John Wilcock to return as members of, let me get this name right, the Water Resources Municipal Property Corporations Commission.
Thank you.
Great. And just to finish off my motion, I did want to mention that item 19, the resignation that is on that item is effective December 5th.
Vice Mayor, and can I just add, the term beginning January 12th, 2014, ending term January 11th, 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. With that motion, second, please vote. Approve with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. Agenda item number 7, Town Manager Banjer, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I've put together a very short presentation to just run through the highlights of item number 7, which is a proposed development agreement between the town of Gilbert and St. Xavier University. To recap, St. Xavier University is a university in Chicago founded in 1846 by the Sisters of Mercy. It's the oldest Catholic university in Illinois and the Chicagoland area. It has a College of Arts and Sciences, a School of Education, a Graham School of Management, and a School of Nursing. The School of Nursing, is of particular note, is one of only 9 nursing programs and one of 2 schools to achieve this designation by the National League of Nursing for the 3rd consecutive year, and that is a center of excellence with their nursing program. What is being proposed for Gilbert in our Heritage District is an 87,000 square foot, 4-story building on town-owned ground just west of the parking garage in the Heritage District. That building will be able to accommodate up to 1,000 students at full capacity, and will also accommodate their administrative offices as well as undergraduate and graduate degree programs. And there is envisioned additional future phases, which may include residential dormitories for on-campus living. That is a rough sketch showing the general location of the proposed campus. Gilbert Road is to your right, and then the Vaughn Avenue parking garage, which will start construction here next month, and then the Xavier building would be just on the other side of that. The high-level basics of the agreement that you have before you is that the town of Gilbert would design and construct the building and the improvements that comply with the Xavier requirements. Xavier would then lease the building and the ground from the town for a proposed period of 30 years. Their lease payments will cover the fair market value of the rent for the ground, as well as the entire cost of design and construction. And the date isn't set yet, but it will open in 2015, the campus will. There are some performance requirements in the agreement. Xavier will have to have 200 full-time students by the end of the 2nd academic year, 500 students by the end of the 5th, and 600 students by the end of the 6th. At least 80% of all credit hours taught and awarded shall be earned by attendance on the campus. Xavier will invest a minimum of $36 million in campus operations within the first 5 years. They will also award scholarships and grants to Gilbert residents estimated at $10 million in the first 5 years, and that will continue through the life of the agreement. Xavier will also establish an endowment fund with a target of raising $5 million, and they will establish a capital project fund with a target of raising $5 million. We've also provided to you an economic impact analysis performed by an objective third-party firm, and to just highlight some of the numbers from that, this will create 275 construction jobs. They will have an overall impact from their operations in Gilbert of $281 million over the next 10 years of the agreement. They will create 170 jobs and a $6.2 million in payroll at other local businesses that experience increased demand from the university, its employees, and its students. And Xavier will have 27 employees in 2015 and ramp up to 65 employees by 2020. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. We also had one request to speak. Is this a convenient time to have the speaker? Okay. Vice Mayor Cooper, please.
I'd like to call Kathy Tilkey forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I think Patrick did a really great job of summarizing everything before you. I just wanted to let you know that the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce supports this development agreement. We spent quite a bit of time reviewing the actual language before you, and Gilbert already has a reputation of doing great development agreements that have specific timelines and clawbacks that will protect the taxpayers and the direction that you're going with this development agreement. So we just wanted to be on the record to tell you that we are supporting this opportunity to bring the university downtown. It is going to have a great impact, not only on the downtown area, but our entire community, and we hope that you'll support it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, questions, comments? Councilmember Peterson?
Are we to the point of a motion?
I would entertain a motion, sure.
Okay, I guess I will speak. I wanted to make sure.
I like motions, yes.
Everyone had a chance. I wanted to start by complimenting staff on this agreement. I think it's the closest thing to having no subsidies that I've ever seen in a public-private partnership like this. And I can tell that a lot of effort has gone into getting it that way. And I do sincerely thank you for that effort. And actually, as I just learned about the amount of the subsidy, it's very small. But unfortunately, there still is a subsidy here. And that's the below market rent that will be charged. I don't believe in government subsidies for private enterprises. And I do believe that taxpayers deserve full market value for the private use of their property. At the end of the day, I think there's a fundamental difference in approach to economic development. I think that the difference is best illustrated by the following line from the agreement. But for the agreement set forth in this agreement, St. Xavier University would not establish, maintain, and operate a university in the Heritage District or other location in Gilbert. In other words, if we weren't offering a special deal, they wouldn't come here. If we really don't have the kind of economic climate in Gilbert that invites all good businesses, with St. Xavier as a great example of that, then we have a lot of work to do. Ironically, if we achieve that kind of climate, where these kinds of wonderful things happen without a special deal with the town, then it will be harder for us to take special credit for them when they do. This is really about whether you think a central body can plan the economy better or that the free market can. I think the free market can. I think we would do better to offer fewer special deals and close loopholes on the one hand, and then lower taxes and regulation for everyone on the other. We have a lot of work to do to unleash the market. I hope we can shift more of our focus in that direction. So again, I can't support this agreement because of the subsidy, but I do thank all those involved for making it as small as possible.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilmember Cook.
I'd like to make a statement here. The offerings of St. Xavier University within Gilbert are important on many levels. First, it provides a faith-based educational opportunity for our residents that are consistent with the community's dedication to STEM. Additionally, it contributes to Gilbert's long-standing plan for revitalization to the community's Heritage District. And finally, it is a true testament to the ability of the Mayor's Ambassador Network to bring projects and opportunity to Gilbert. So I support the project fully.
Thank you. Councilmember Daniels?
Mayor Lewis, one of the things I appreciate most about this opportunity that's come to Gilbert, and I'm grateful especially for the work that staff has done, and Mayor, Councilmember Cook, I know that you have all worked tirelessly, and seeing that St. Xavier sees the value that Gilbert has to offer them. Education in this community is worth investing in. And St. Xavier is proving that by coming to the town of Gilbert and investing themselves here. And I appreciate that they are leading the way in the town. There are lots of opportunities, Mayor, that will come before us. There are many more to come. But I am deeply excited about this one, particularly because we are offering something new to our citizens, something of value, something that they can use to then better themselves. And we're giving them that opportunity by partnering with St. Xavier on this. So Mayor, Patrick, team, thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper.
I'd just like to reiterate those kudos, and as the one that's liaison at this time to the redevelopment area, or the redevelopment commission in the Heritage District, just remind all of us that it really is the core of Gilbert, and it always was kind of the gathering place for even since the beginning of Gilbert. This is where people came to come together and learn from each other and that kind of thing. And as the town has been real proactive in protecting and enhancing the property values in that area, this is another logical step, if you will, in continuing to encourage investment in the area that will basically maximize the property values and the investment that the taxpayers have already made in the area. And so I think that it's a prudent move, it's a good move, and I'm most excited about the partnership that we will have with this great institution here, as they have a good track record of producing and developing talent in the exact areas that we are looking for as we try to achieve our economic development goals as a community in the science, technology, engineering, and math. We're very helpful, or very thankful for the nursing and some of the other things that will play right in with where we're headed as a community. So I'm very grateful for them to be here and happy to support it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, excited about the university and the opportunities, and appreciate the work that yourself, Councilmember Cook, and Dan and others have done on it. Where I'm at on the development agreement, there's a lot of strengths in it, and I think it's great. I think there's I continue to have reservations with the downside risk element of this. There's just too much that the taxpayers here in Gilbert would be left holding, and maybe I'm just jaded with the big league dreams and, polarized situations where we're, those are obviously two different things, but at the end of the day, these development agreements will leave us holding the bag if there's not enough at risk. And, right now, what I see is the $250,000, a year's worth of interest payments for, a building that, a $36 million investment. That's not a lot. That's not, no bank would do that. So my recommendation is to just push pause, because I think this is definitely it's easily achievable. It's very standard in the industry to have more at risk from the party. This seems to be a little lopsided. Take a month, tighten that up, bring it back, and it's definitely something I think I could support.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Ray?
I appreciate the comments that have been made by Councilmember Schneid. Patrick, if worst case scenario, and I don't think any of us anticipate that this will happen, but worst case scenario, the building's built, for whatever reason, St. Xavier is not successful, they end up having to pay the $250,000 in a year of interest. We then regain complete control of the building. We can then lease it to whoever we want at fair market value or whatever value we deem as appropriate at that point. Do you have any hesitations or concerns that we would be stuck with a building that would be unusable for other purposes?
Sure, Mayor, Councilmember Ray. The building itself, the shell and core of it will be, essentially it's going to be a square building with an interior elevator, stair corridor. Everything else within it will be customized to the needs of St. Xavier. If they were to leave one day and we would want to repurpose that building for something else, all of those internal walls could be taken out and reconfigured for an office building for a multitude of uses. So I do not believe, first, that we would have trouble attracting another university to take that space. The way we've structured the agreement, St. Xavier, if they were to pull out, would have to provide a year's notice to the town so that, one, the students that are currently enrolled have an ability to finish their semester or finish their year, and then decide what options they'd like to transfer over to another university to finish their college career at. And then there's also a year's worth of debt service built into this agreement. So in effect, we'd have a 2-year window of time to go out and look for a different partner, a different university partner, and we'd have $250,000 to help cover those costs for marketing and the legal expenses associated with negotiating a development agreement with a different university.
I appreciate Councilmember Peterson and Councilmember Taylor's comments. I don't feel like there is as much risk as they feel like there is with those safety nets. So obviously we can't guarantee that everything is perfect forever, but I think that this is a much better agreement than some of the previous agreements that the town has had, and I'm confident in St. Xavier and in the town and their the process and the agreement they've come to, and echo the words of many others who thank Councilmember Cook for his leadership on this. I know he spent a tremendous amount of time working on this, as with Mayor Lewis and town staff, and education is a huge thing, and we need to make sure that we it's a great thing to support, and I look forward to supporting this university.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Town Attorney
members of
Mike.
Council, I did have one comment I wish to make, and that is the parties have agreed to a change to a particular section that we believe will speed up the approval and review process and better ensure that the project gets completed on time if passed. And that's a change to section 4.6.3 in the development agreement, wherein upon completion of each phase, the design of the project, Gilbert will provide that design documents of that phase to Xavier University for review. The current document reads that Xavier will have 45 days to review that document and return comments to us. We've agreed to shortening that time to 30 days because that's a change in the contract that you'll be voting on. I necessitating my mentioning it prior to your vote.
Okay. Thank you. Well, great summary, and so as to not repeat what has been said, thank you for all the comments, and in entertaining a motion with what our town attorney just said, Councilmember Cook.
I would like to motion that the council adopt the resolution to approve a development agreement with St. Xavier University, providing for the establishment and operation of a 4-year liberal arts university in Gilbert's downtown Heritage District, as well as what legal counsel mentioned as relates to the adjustment in the land development agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote. That's approved with a 5-2 vote. Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, I believe that has taken care of the consent calendar. Okay, thank you. We'll move to the public hearing. And Vice Mayor Cooper, for planning right now, we were kind of looking at the request to speak together, and we have a request on 25 and 27. Did we have requests on any other items? And 29 is outside of public hearing, so.
No, that's it.
And on 25, for those that wish to speak on 25, it was posted that this item is going to be continued, and so we thank you for coming, and if you did not see that notice that it's being continued to December 12th, we apologize, but for purposes of a public hearing, we will not open a public hearing on 25 tonight, and therefore we won't have opportunities to speak. We will have many to speak on 27, and so to the council, outside of 25 and 27, are there desires from the council to have some discussion or presentations on the other public hearing items?
Mayor, just to mention for those that might be here for 25, it's just been moved to December 12th.
Correct. Correct. So if you're here to speak on 25, if you could please join us again, and we will love to have you, so thank you. So outside of 25 and 27, are there other agenda items 21 through 28 that the council would like to have discussed?
23.
23. Any others?
I just have a comment on 26.
6, okay. Such that we would need to open the public hearing, it sounds like. Okay. So 21, 22, 24, and 28, I could open the public hearing and close it, and then we would be ready to move forward. Is that a true statement? Okay. And I open the public hearing on 21, 22, 24, and 28, and I close the public hearing on 21, 22, 24, and 28. And Vice Mayor Cooper, if you could make the motion and include the continuance of 25, please.
Sure. Mayor, I move that we approve the public hearing items 21, 22, 24, and 28, and that we continue item 25 until, and that's A and B, until the December 12th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
With that motion, second, please vote. That's approved with a 7-0 vote. And I also wanted to then take the time for the 23, 25, 26, and 27, as noted on the agenda. In order to comment on a public hearing item, you must fill out a public comment form indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of the council. After the public hearing, the council may act on all items, not requiring additional staff, public, or council member comment with a single vote. So I will now go in order. We'll begin with 23, and I will open the public hearing on agenda item 23. And who wish to, and do you need a presentation or?
I don't.
Okay, Vice Mayor Cooper, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick statement, Nathan. No need to fire up the laptop for this one. We as a council, I think we take each one of these cases very seriously and want to understand the merits of these kinds of changes. And while we have a general philosophy that kind of at times where we really discourage changes from commercial to residential and those kinds of things. There are cases where they make sense, and specifically in a case like this where there's such extensive retail vacancy within a couple miles of there, and the parcel has sat there in a challenging situation for a long, long time. I think those are the kind of cases that we should at least hear and discuss and debate as a community, as has happened in this case. And in this specific case, I think that I'm satisfied that making this change is appropriate, and so I'm prepared to make a motion, but I just wanted to get that comment out there.
Councilman Bray?
Just one other thing to add to Vice Mayor Cooper's comments. There has been some comments in the press, emails we get, that discusses the thought or the concern that this council approves every general plan amendment that comes before it, or every minor amendment that comes before it. Most of the votes have come out that way. But, and I've told many people, lots of people this, for every one of these that comes to the council, there's probably 20 that doesn't. And so just because it's coming to the dais and we're hearing about it, I am approached frequently for different options, different areas of Gilbert where different builders propose different ideas. And so for every one of these that's approved, there's probably 20 at least that never even get this far because either town staff expresses their concern or council members express their concern with those areas. And so, like Vice Mayor Cooper said, this one is different than many of the other ones that we received that don't even get to this point.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Daniels?
Mayor, I do appreciate the comments that have been made by Vice Mayor Cooper and Councilmember Ray. However, I feel slightly different about this particular one, and I'd like to explain my vote why. We do take these on a case-by-case basis, and I have a history of supporting specifically those infill pieces that we are perhaps changing the zoning on from commercial to residential. In this particular case, because there is vacant property on the west corner that happens to be in one of our neighboring communities, which we love, this is not a statement against Chandler in any way, but because we do have vacant property and that is also zoned commercial, I feel as though if we give up this particular corner, that has potential, and we've talked, Mayor, about aggressive patience in the town of Gilbert. That's sort of been a theme that we've had. We have to be patient with some of these commercial corners. Does that mean 15 years, 20 years patient, 40 years patient? I don't know specifically what that means. But until that corner is built out, I feel as though we're giving away an opportunity to our neighbor. And as much as we are happy when Chandler and other neighbors succeed, my first interest is Gilbert. And so for that purpose, Mayor, I will be voting no on this particular project.
Thank you. Councilmember Cook?
This particular property, since it's close to my house, I've seen the Abco shopping center there for a long time, and it just lost, a lot of volume, and I've seen that entire shopping center just kind of just diminish over time, and then now we have a Goodwill and other businesses there. But I'm in agreement with Councilmember Daniels. It is hard to give up, what I consider a prime piece of property. And I did speak to a number of the homeowners within the islands, and they've shared with me that the process that they went through wasn't a process that they felt like they had a lot of voice in the process. So, I'm struggling here because a lot of those island residents do not want that to change. So anyways, I'm going to hang on to our commercial property at that corner.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I think we all know the corner, and as has been stated, it's been an area that struggled with the commercial uses. I actually grew up in the islands myself and saw that shopping center flip and flip and flip from one user to the next. And Councilmember Daniels, admitted that how many years is enough? It's been about 30, and that's one of the older areas of town. It's developed all around there. So that is infill. That's really your prime definition of infill. And I guess the question would be, how long do we wait before we think that that use is just not practical? We can paint squares on a map whatever color we want. Doesn't mean the market will support it. And we get a lot less benefit out of an undeveloped piece of property than we do any development kind, because it raises the value. There's more taxes from that. It's a better public benefit. There's a use to that property now that people can enjoy. And there's a problem with that use. I think after 30 years, that's a safe assumption, and I think it's time to take some pointers from the market on what they think will work there.
For the public, I think it would still be helpful with those comments. Maybe to come back to Nathan, if you could give a quick summary, and then I think the applicant, if you could make some comments right after, please.
Thanks, Mayor Lewis, members of the council. This it is a general plan amendment and rezone. I don't know, I had the Elmo going here, but anyway, the subject site's at the southeast corner of McQueen and Warner, and it is in the islands, as you mentioned. It's been vacant about 30 years. What the applicant is requesting is from shopping center. The land use designation right now is shopping center. They want to go to residential 2 to 3.5. So essentially, the rezoning would then, supplement that, and it would be about 44 lots. 44 lots. It's a PAD that they're requesting in the SF6 zoning district. So they want about 44 lots. It's just over 3 dwelling units an acre. And I'll just give a brief recap of the. It went to the Planning Commission in October, and what staff recommended was for denial of the request based upon some of these bullet points you see here. And I don't know if you can read this, a little blurry, but essentially some of the concerns are like Councilmember Daniels stated and Councilmember Cook, the loss of commercial property on an arterial two arterial streets in the town of Gilbert that's at a gateway intersection, essentially right next to Chandler. So it makes it a kind of a prime spot, although some of the arguments obviously that were stated was that's an older area, vacant for 30 years, and the Islands is pretty much built out at this point. But some of the other reasons we recommended denial is staff just feels that, taking a long-term approach, given we don't know what that is the best option right now in order to essentially comply with the general plan that we have, the goals, the policies, and so forth. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the applicant's request unanimously, 7-0. And they stated, some of the reasons they stated were also mentioned up here today. Vacant for 30 years, very likely it won't develop anytime soon. There's a lot of vacant parcels around the area that are commercially zoned or existing buildings that are commercial that are vacant as well. So those are some of the reasons they gave to staff, and the recommendation in your staff report is based upon that. So there is a recommendation for approval based upon the Planning Commission's recommendation. Be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Ray?
My understanding is that the Islands HOA and Board of Directors have given this full approval, right? Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilmember Ray, that's correct. And hopefully there's a letter from the HOA that provides their support. I would also mention that we had a couple neighborhood meetings with the Islands residents as well.
Mayor, I believe the applicant is here, maybe.
Please. Let's have the applicant, please.
Mayor, council members, Sean Lake. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I will go ahead and address some of the questions that were raised. I think we're all familiar with the property that's located at the southeast corner of McQueen and Warner. It is a property, to put into perspective, when it was zoned for commercial and had the vision of commercial, my partner Ralph Pugh was a young budding attorney of, I think, 1 year. I was searching for a prom date during that time. Needless to say, it has been zoned for commercial for a long time. The property to the north was developed as commercial, and as was stated by the council members, ABCO went in, and then ABCO went out, and ever since, we can think of ABCO, I mean, that's been a while. ABCO has not been around a while, but that center has struggled. It has struggled and struggled and struggled for quite a few time, quite a few years. Let me go to some of the questions that were raised at the Planning Commission. You have a vacant piece of property that's been vacant for 30 years. You have a vacant shopping center on the north. And so what is the best thing that we can do to help a dying shopping center on the north? I wouldn't say add more commercial to the market. Let me go to this slide. We did a inventory of vacant existing retail development within 2 miles of this site. That means it's built, it's ready for somebody to move in, and there is over 1 million square feet of vacant existing retail development within 2 miles of this site. We also did an analysis to say, okay, we know what the supply is. Let's look at the demand, because this area is built out. And so we decided what is available residential development that can be built in this area within 2 miles. There are 8 lots, meaning 8 homes that can be built within 2 miles of this site. So what we're proposing before this council is we're saying it's basic economics. You have supply and you have demand. The demographics in this area are not going to change. There's not a big development that's going to occur in this area. There's not more shoppers that are going to come into this area. We're hoping that the market picks up, but we're hoping the market will pick up to absorb 1 million square feet of vacant retail space. The last thing I would think you would want to do is add more supply when the demand is not keeping up with the supply. And so that's why we're here before you. We're the property owner. We represent the property owner. We just want a reasonable use of the property. They've waited for 30 years, and they've given it a good shot. I would say nobody's given it a better shot. When this property was zoned commercial, there were 7,000 people in the town of Gilbert. We're substantially more than that. So I think they've given it a good shot, a good faith effort. We think, okay, that's long enough, is our response. And so I'm getting kind of passionate up here. We think this is a great use. We've had multiple neighborhood meetings with the islands. At the last neighborhood meeting that we had, everybody that showed up was in full support of the project. We met with the HOA, and they wrote us a letter of support. The commercial car wash owner on the immediate corner that we're adjacent to, we met with them. Now they wrote a letter of support. So everybody that we've spoken to and worked with in that islands area that wanted to participate in the process is now in support. So we think we've done our homework. We think we've waited long enough. We think we're proposing a good use. And so I would ask that you please support this and let this property owner use his property for a reasonable land use. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't think we can move forward till we find out if you got a prom date or not. Just kidding, okay. To the council, do we have some questions? Okay, we ready to proceed? Then I will close the public hearing on agenda item 25. No, 26, excuse me. 23. Good help. So I close the public hearing on agenda item 23, and we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve item 23A and B as presented to us.
Second.
Okay, with that motion second, please vote. That's approved with a 5-2 vote. Thank you. I open the public hearing on agenda item 26. And who wanted 26 pulled? Eddie, okay. Councilmember Cook, did you want a presentation or?
No, I just want to make a comment to this. And actually, this is one of those opportunities where the town of Gilbert is getting out of the way. And we don't talk a lot about that from time to time. But here we have our staff working for the betterment of our HOAs to the south and trying to help solve really kind of an irrigation issue. So in this case here, we're allowing them a lot of flexibility, and I just want to thank the staff for thinking, and being good neighbors to our families to the south. So again, it's just a comment, and I would, recommend that we all vote in favor of this.
Thank you. Any other comments? I close the public hearing on agenda item 26, and will entertain a motion.
I motion that we approve agenda item number 26.
Is there a second?
Second.
With that motion second, please vote. That's approved with a 7 vote. Thank you. I open the public hearing on agenda item 27. And I know, Vice Mayor Cooper, you said we have many to speak on this. And so why don't we have a quick summary, which I will also make a comment or two as the slides will be coming up. We had a study session on Tuesday, and in the study session I made mention that and I've forgotten the exact date, but let's say it's 2 or 3 months ago, when the building code discussion had come forward, and I express again appreciation for so many that have given hundreds of hours of time, and throughout the valley, Gilbert has become a community that has been kind of the lead in taking a good, strong look at the building codes. I think we've also set a standard for other communities to make sure they're understanding and spending time looking at them. At the meeting 2 or 3 months ago, we struggled as a council, and that was partially because there is so much involved that we made the statement, we might need some more help. And so we had made the request to have an advisory council formed. And at our last meeting, when we were looking at the specifics of that, there were some comments made by the council members that the fear of that particular board was the amount of time it would take to do the interview process, to get the board or advisory council formed, and the formalization of that all of a sudden came across as a very strong statement of more government. And that's when we made the statement, is there a way to still accomplish the purpose of having the proper standards in place, guidelines that would work, and accomplish a lot of the goals that had been stated, and to have, we use the term strike force, organized so that we would not have to have the formality and hundreds of hours ahead and still not have an answer for quite some time. And so with that, the request was made to town staff to see if we could come back with another solution. The council communication that came forward reflected what had been talked about 2 or 3 months ago. And so in our study session on Tuesday, we clarified that what we were looking for is maybe a summary of what we had discussed, what the council possibly could feel good about approving, and then what we could not approve, we would give that guidance to the strike force to go forward and focus on those items. And so, Larry, I didn't mean to take away the summary, but this has a little bit to do too with Councilmember Ray. You were not here on Tuesday night. For the public who did not get a chance to see what was discussed and hear on Tuesday. And so, Larry, let me, with that summary of the last few months, turn to you, and if you could present the options that were discussed on Tuesday, and then any additional updates we may need to have since Tuesday, and we'll have some dialogue. And then I think the comments that we would look for the citizens who are here tonight, if there is some help with these options specific to what is presented, that will be very helpful. Obviously, some of the citizens may have other options not there, but at least for the council, we will take where we left off on Tuesday and try and have input tonight that will help us make some decisions. So, Larry, if you could go back to the study session, what was discussed, and we'll focus on bringing us up to speed, especially Councilmember Ray.
Thank you, Mayor Lewis, council members. My name is Larry Taylor. I'm the Plan Review and Inspection Manager for the town of. As you mentioned, there were several options that were spoken about or discussed on Tuesday afternoon at the study session. The first option was to vote on the 2012 codes with the exception of the energy and the green codes until the strike team could complete their review on those. The second option was to delay vote on the codes until the strike team has completed their evaluation and provided with a recommendation. And then the third option was that was discussed was to amend our current codes, remain on the 2006 codes, but to include, amend into those codes the less restrictive items that were that are currently in the 2012 codes. After discussion, option number 2 was eliminated, and so we have option number 1 and number 3 before you tonight. With that, be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Option 1, I think, has more clarity, and I believe we understand it. Option 3, Councilmember Ray, for your sake too, it might help to have a little bit of a summary, and I don't know whether that would be Larry or maybe Councilmember Peterson would be helpful. Should we defer to Councilmember Peterson? Councilmember Peterson, please tell us about option 3.
Mayor, thank you. In the study session, I think I did a pretty poor job of presenting it, so I'm going to try and make it clear. The plan is as simple as this. We would adopt only the parts of the new codes that reduce or clarify regulation. And those operational, by the way, operational definitions of reduce and clarify are in the motion that our town attorney has provided for option 3. So you can see what those are. The idea behind this plan is really simple. I believe it builds on common ground that we share. I do not think that a desire for increased regulation is a fair representation of this council. I think we do want to reduce it, and that's really the point. This plan is the only plan where I feel we can be guaranteed not to increase regulation, but only to reduce it. The fact is there's almost 4,000 pages of code considered for adoption on the agenda tonight. That reminds me of the Obamacare law where it was said that we needed to pass it to find out what was in it. I don't want to follow that model, and without over 3,800 pages of code, there's no single individual that knows what's there. Staff has admitted that they don't know where all the reductions are, which means they certainly don't know where all the increases are. I can tell you I don't know either, but as a builder, I'm learning more about them right now as some of the other communities that we build in have passed the code, and in my experience, the increase in regulation far outweighs the decrease. Again, the plan is simple. We adopt only the regulations or the reductions in regulation from the new codes. Then we can be sure we're not only reducing, we're only reducing, not increasing, and we can also be sure that anyone who wants to build to the new code can, but they can also build to the old one. In fact, they can take the best of both as they choose. So that's it in a nutshell, and we can do it in different parts. There may be parts of my motion people support and other parts they don't. And that was the other thought tonight, Mayor, is with so many different parts and pieces, maybe it makes sense to break it up. I think there was some low-hanging fruit that we all agreed on. It seemed like we were going in the direction of codes that were only related to life and health safety in general. Energy code is maybe one we could agree on repealing tonight. I'd like to try something that simple and just kind of see how it goes, but that's the thought on that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, and Larry, did you have any other slides? Okay. Vice Mayor Cooper, with that, as a council, or Councilmember Ray?
I can just ask one question, Mayor. When we talked about this a month or two ago, one of the proposals from one of the sides in this was that they had a list of the 30 or so items that they felt that they wanted those removed. If option one were to be chosen, would that add those 30 or so items to the strike team as well, or are those not part of option one?
Thank you. Larry?
Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Ray, yes, the intent is still to have the strike. Two of those items, of those 30-plus items, are the green code and the energy code, and there are a total of 32 items, with those two being among them.
Let me add clarification that hopefully will help too. So if option one were selected, the strike force gets together and there's some more details of something that was approved that does not make sense to the strike force and it came back and that we took that out, that is still possible. Is that right?
Mayor Lewis, that would be to the council's discretion. The input we've gotten so far has been to stick with these specific items, but that would be up to your discretion on how you...
So the 32, or the green and energy, the 30 plus the 2, are they not part of the 2012 code? Just refreshing our memories.
21 of those items are currently in our code now.
Okay, in our code right now.
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess I'll answer my own question. If the strike force came back, if option one were selected and had some items that they felt did not make sense that we had approved, we could still consider that in a future meeting and make a change.
Mayor Lewis, that is correct. Any of those items that they feel should be amended out, we would certainly bring back to the council to do that.
Okay. Councilmember Ray, anything else at this point for you? Okay, Vice Mayor Cooper?
Just for clarification's sake, option one maintains those items in our code, but does direct the strike team to look at them and then to come back and tell us whether we should consider removing, I think you said there were 20 or something that are currently in the code. So they would remain in the code for right now, and then if the strike team came back and said, maybe you ought to remove those, we would have that conversation at that time?
Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper, that is correct.
Okay, and then just to follow on, we currently have we already have in our code an energy code, right? Because I think I heard that one of your potential motions might be to repeal that code. And so I just wanted to make sure that I understood that we do currently have an 06 energy code in our code.
That is correct, Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper. Under option number one, we would be retaining our current 2006 energy code.
Okay. Thank you.
We go Councilmember Cook and then Councilmember Peterson. Did you still have a comment?
Well, I have lots of comments to do, but I am going to share something here because I was in favor of option 2. And I believe some of the fallacy here is that we believe that these 30-ish was based upon, a very short period of time of folks. That's why I went option 2, because there may be more than 30. I don't know why we're stuck to this small list, and that's why, to me, option 2 is the better option, because it allows really a process that Phoenix has adopted, went through it very well, and the county did. And I think we're cutting ourselves short in this process.
Councilmember Daniels, I think you wanted to comment on that, and then we'll go to Councilmember Peterson.
I just want to provide some clarification for you on that, and perhaps it was difficult to hear. I know it is hard to hear in study session, but the purpose for that is because we're giving a limited scope to the strike team because we want them to be done by the end of December and to come back to us. So we have a hard date for them to come back to us. But that doesn't, in my opinion, eliminate our ability at that point to re-engage the strike team for a more extensive look. But what we want to do is make sure that we're addressing those specific issues in a very short period of time. I hear what you're saying. There's likely more in there that we want to touch. But we want this to be done in a timely fashion rather than pushing this out. If we push it out much longer, we're looking at 2015 and no longer 2012. And maybe that's our option too. But.
Well, again, back to your comment that I heard prior, you anticipate, hundreds of hours. And I think you really, in my opinion, actually make the point because it is extremely technical. There's a lot of information in it as I went through a lot of the books and the documentation that I can't even grasp. For me as a council member, now relying on expertise that do know those codes, that I think was prudent that we spend an additional amount of time, because I'm looking for what is the real compelling reason to move forward. Our friends to the north are in the same position we are. They adopted a 2006. They bypassed the 2009. They're going to bypass the 2012, and they're going to wait to the 2015. So I know it's possible to wait and go through a process that I think will be suitable for Gilbert. And again, in Gilbert we do grind through things. I appreciate that. But again, I think option 2 is really the better option. And I know that's not here to speak about, but again, that's my position.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson.
Mayor, I agree with Councilmember Cook that it's worth taking the extra time. And I failed to mention there's a separate second step to the third option as well, and it would address the concern that we were limiting ourselves to just a few items to review. We would also have the strike team meet, and they would continue to, because right now we only have a limited list of items from the IRC. That's just one of the, I guess, 9 books that there are to look for other less restrictive items that may be there. So we could let that strike team also find other less restrictive items out of the other code books, as well as that gives that opportunity for more items that you're talking about. And yeah, it'll take some more time, but I'm with you. I think it's worth it. I think it's irresponsible for us to adopt a code when there's thousands and thousands of pages, and one of the reasons we're rushing is because we don't want to spend the time going through it. That doesn't make any sense. I don't think that's the right move. And I'll just tell you as a builder, there's no rush for me. I'm having more trouble with 12 than 6, so.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, we have some requests, and it will be a little bit of a challenge because what was sent out for the public to look at was the package of a few months ago, but best you can tell of these options, are you able to group them in a way that is meaningful, and do you have a sense of how many wish to speak and in what categories?
Mayor, I do. There are 11 that wish to speak against what was in the packet anyway, 2 that wish to speak for, 1 that indicates more of a neutral position, and then there are 31 slips from folks that do not wish to speak but are against the information that was in the packet.
Okay. So for the record, those 31 can all be included, and that's 14 to speak. Now, to the council, we've had some discussion, and so when we did a repeat of a topic in our last meeting, we had a minute. Or I think we grouped it where they could spend as much time as they want and decide. So I'm probably looking for some guidance on how much time to allocate. It could be, we could give 15 minutes for the against, and they could use it any way they wanted. And the for would be maybe a minute and a half, so 3 minutes. Well, and I guess in fairness, they're still on the subject, so maybe about between the for and the neutral, maybe about 5 minutes. Now, here's the question. If we do the 15 minutes to those who are here to speak, who thank you for coming, we could move to another agenda item and come back, and that would give you a few minutes to identify who you'd like to speak for the 15 minutes. Would you like a few minutes? Okay. So to the council, what I'm proposing is I'm going to close the public hearing on 27, and we'll move on to the railroad discussion, and that'll give the team members a few minutes, and when we come back, we'll give those who are against 15 minutes, and those who are for or the neutral, we'd give about 5 minutes. Does that work? Okay, thank you. So I close the public hearing at this point on 27, and we'll move to administrative items. And we have agenda item 29, which is a discussion and direction on establishing railroad quiet zones within the town. A question that came up from the study session, and Councilmember Ray, this will be helpful to ask and see if you had any thoughts on it. When we last were talking trains, a district was proposed, and in the study session I mentioned that it didn't seem like the council was in favor of moving forward with a district concept, and so I wanted to confirm, because that is an important part of what some of the citizens may wish to speak on. And even though we're not doing a formal vote on that, is that a correct statement in your viewpoint too, that you were not really in favor of a district? And so tonight we'd really be focusing on the numbers we've received, whether we want to proceed to have some money allocated to get more specifics on doing a quiet zone, or whether we would just say we don't want to do that at all. So are you in favor of a district concept?
I am not, Mayor.
And Councilmember Peterson, you had some feelings maybe for it, but I wasn't hearing anyone else. So, all right. So on.
Yeah, I'll make my comments later. It's just a concept of those who benefit should pay. I'm trying to stick with that. I think that's just and fair. So, but you know, if there's no one else that supports that model, I totally understand.
Thank you. So for Andy, if you could, in terms of we won't really be discussing a district. We'll assume that we won't go that direction. Give us the overview. We do have some figures now estimated. And then if you could also state, if we were to vote for this tonight, we're not really voting to do the whole process. We're really voting to say, well, let's take the next few steps. Or if we decide as a council, we don't want to do this at all, that would be a vote against it. But summary, please.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis and Council. I'm Andy Welsh, Assistant to the Town Manager. I just wanted to provide you a brief overview about the quiet zone for trains. So the existing conditions within the town are that within a quarter of a mile of every intersection that the train crosses a pedestrian or a vehicular intersection, they must blow their whistle. We have 13 roadway crossings on the main line and 3 pedestrian or trail crossings. And then 3 crossings on the north-south spur. And I think we went over this before, that there are 9 quiet zones in Arizona, 3 of which are in Chandler on that north-south spur. So here's just kind of an overview map of within a mile of both the north-south spur and the main line, the properties that are impacted in this residential properties that are impacted by the line. So on the next slide, I'll go over some costs with you, but some of the assumptions that staff put together was that we have made some improvements to intersections as CIP projects have come forward. The numbers are very conservative in nature, and they do include the pedestrian crossings. However, it excludes doing a quiet zone or any improvements on the north-south spur, since that is not a main line. It is not as active in the evening in particular. So staff is estimating it's about a $3 million cost for the roadway crossings and then 2 of the trail crossings throughout the town. So what staff is coming forward with is if the council is interested, that we could conduct a diagnostic review in the field with the railroad, the Federal Railroad Administration, and several state agencies to look at each intersection and determine what improvements would need to be made. We're estimating it would be about 150 hours of staff time and approximately $8,000 to work with some of these agencies to assist with coming up with these costs. We would then come up with a list of the improvements with some detailed cost estimates, and then we would return to council and present these options and decide how the council would like to move forward, if they would still like to continue moving forward with pursuing a quiet zone. So tonight we're asking for council's direction as to how you would like us to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have some citizens that wish to speak, and we could do that now, or any comments from the council at this point? Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, please.
Mayor, I have one that does not wish to speak, but is, I believe, against the quiet zones, David Roller. So we just enter that name into the record. And then we have, we'd like to call Richard Jones up, and after him, Raymond Lambert.
And for the council, again, because we've had this discussion before, 2 minutes would be the proposed time period. Does that work? All right, and if you could state your name and if you're a Gilbert resident for the record, and then you'll be given 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Richard Jones. I am a Gilbert resident. My primary issue is safety. I don't know if there's been a study group or if there's a study group planned. I mean, costs are important, liability is important, but I would hope that we've done some comparative analysis of other areas that have put in quiet zones. To my mind, the safety of the citizens is paramount. So, okay, now they're quiet. Does that mean we're going to have more accidents? I just hope that the council will take that into account. Let's look at other data from other areas, even here in this area and other states, to make sure that we can make these as safe as possible and keep our citizens safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. You probably recognize me. I've been talking about this issue for about 4 years. I just want to express my support for moving forward on this project. An $8,000 cost to find out after 4+ years how much the project would actually cost seems very reasonable to me.
Thank you, and thank you for your perseverance. Vice Mayor Cooper, any other requests to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Council comments? Councilmember Cook?
If I can have Andy back up. It was really kind of hard for me to hear on the study group. We have to fix council members dialing in. It was hard. Can you share with me a little bit about the funding pieces? How much is general fund related? How much is, I think I heard federal grants in the conversation. It wasn't clear to me, what the real cost could possibly be to handle the intersections as well as maybe the trail. And I know that it sounded like there was some funding that could go to trails, but really, I'm not sure we want to combine the two. I don't know. I was a little confused. Could you kind of help me become unconfused through that?
And you are the one to answer it, Andy, but I'll just say there was confusion. And one thing that Andy did to unconfuse is we completely separated the trail discussion. And just we were staying with the quiet zone tonight. And that was at the request on Tuesday, and she did that tonight. So that's a possible answer, and that means there's a trail discussion that will come at the appropriate time, but not tonight.
Okay.
And Andy, answer it differently if you need to.
That was perfect, Mayor. Thank you. Oh, well, I can answer more questions about the cost. So as the mayor mentioned, we did pull out the Western Power Line Trail, which we submitted a grant for, and that is a separate, will come back as a separate discussion when we hear about the results from that funding process. In terms of funding the other improvements, depending on how council would like to proceed, we could come back and look at forming the quiet zones in separate zones or districts and fund them as separate pieces or as a whole. Staff has not looked at funding sources in terms of funding the capital projects until we determine if this is something we would like to move forward with. But if the council did not want to move forward with an improvement district, these would be CIP projects.
So could you share with me what potentially is the estimate of what it might cost to build those quiet intersections?
Sure, it's about $3 million. I'll pull the slide back up here for you.
And again, this would be if we were strictly coming out of the general fund, it would be about $3 million?
Correct. So about $2 million for the roadway crossings and about $1 million for the at-grade. And the reason that there's the vehicular intersection costs are a little bit less is as we've been making improvements to the intersection, staff has been designing and building them to hopefully comply with the quiet zone requirements.
Not to say that you're doing this, but is there an intent to seek federal grant dollars to potentially offset the $3 million from the general fund?
Mayor Lewis, Councilman Cook, if the council would like us to proceed with this project, it's something that we could look at. My cursory review is that there's not any federal grants available to fund these types of improvements.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper.
The resident requested information on safety. Have we done any of that research yet, or would that be part of this next phase?
Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper, that would be part of the diagnostic review in terms of what improvements would need to be made to address the safety statistics that are all calculated as part of the review. However, this question came up before and staff did look at this issue, and we were not able to find any academic studies or studies out there to address the safety of intersections with or without a quiet zone. However, if the town decides to pursue a quiet zone, the town does assume the liability for the intersections and the crossings with the train. So if that means that the liability is transferred from Union Pacific to the town.
And then, Mayor, just a follow-up. All right, so there weren't any studies. I would just, if we do take the next step, I would encourage you to dig as deep as you can on that. The second question I have is, some communities do partial quiet zones throughout. I mean, one area maybe is targeted for quiet zone, and then they have several intersections that aren't, and then they target another area. Is that something that would work in Gilbert, just the way our railroad is aligned and where the residential housing is and that kind of thing? I mean, have you thought about that, or when you put the 13 crossings in, did you do that because there really wasn't a good place to skip one?
Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper, part of the reason we lumped them together is because several of the intersections are very close together. So if we formed a quiet zone in one section, people would still be impacted that are close to that maybe might not be in the zone. We certainly, as part of the diagnostic review, could look at partial quiet zones, which means that they would only be quiet at night, but not blow their horns not blow their horns in the evening, but blow them during the day. And then we also could look at phasing it or bringing in zones if the council would like us to do that.
Thank you. Councilmember Taylor.
Andy, a follow-up question to Vice Mayor, one of the Vice Mayor's point. Do we know what the liability would be? I mean, what is that amount? Would we have to carry extra insurance? Does our current insurance cover that? Any information on that you could share?
Mayor Lewis, Councilman Taylor, I do not have any specific costs or additional details. That's either something that would be part of the diagnostic review or it's something that we could come back with some specific numbers if we come back with this project in the future.
Councilmember Cook.
You may have discussed this on Tuesday, and I just was unfortunately couldn't hear. As relates to our collaboration with our friends in Chandler, how much lessons learned have they shared with us with their implementation of the quiet zones in Chandler?
Mayor Lewis, Councilman Cook, I'm going to turn it over to Eric Gadarian, our traffic engineer.
Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Cook, I think in our discussions, and especially when we discussed with Chandler, because their quiet zones are on a spur line and they have a lot less train traffic, we learned a little bit about the length of the process because it's a federal process, but it was, the railroad characteristics are very different, so they have different requirements than what we would require. I know also staff has met with the city of Tempe because Tempe has a quiet zone, and we've learned some good, hopefully lessons learned, so we can get through the process quicker and hopefully more efficiently if we do it.
So again, back to the safety, do they have any kind of documents they could share with us as it relates to any of their safety studies that they've done?
I haven't found any sort of safety studies. The whole premise of creating quiet zones and why it costs money to do it is the trade-off for not blowing the train horn is to beef up or increase the amount of infrastructure, whether it be on the roadway or it be more lights and flashers or different sort of railroad gates to make the crossing much more difficult to get, a vehicle or a pedestrian onto the crossing. And so there are a relatively few number of quiet zones in the state and in the nation. They're relatively new. There are relatively few number of crashes that occur on railroad crossings anyhow. So we look to it, and there's a calculation that we go through the process to say we have this many vehicles crossing the railroad tracks, we have this many trains a day, we need to add this much infrastructure or railroad equipment to reduce that safety or increase the safety factor.
Mayor, I have one more question.
Please.
On the west side of town where I live, there is would you call it a spur that goes north and south? Is that included as a total number?
Councilmember Cook, we didn't include those. There's 3 crossings, and that's the same railroad line that goes down into Chandler. We did not include those in these estimates. Correct. Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Well, let's make a decision. Is there a motion? Councilmember Peterson?
I just want to make a final comment about this. I don't know how this will shake out, but because, first of all, the train was there first, and I understand some people didn't know what they were getting, and I feel for those folks, but there are also people who did know what they were getting and actually liked the train and liked the noise. So of those impacted, we have mixed feedback. Now, with the model of using the general fund, most people who pay for it won't be impacted for good or for bad. In other words, in my mind, it would be redistributive in nature. So with that, and not being any support for more of those who benefit pay, and even if that model were adopted, I would still be wanting to, in any way possible, defer to those who would be paying. So we would have some kind of survey, and I would like to honor their wishes. I don't want to force something on them they don't want. But I don't see any support for that. So I'm probably going to hang back and vote against this because it's not going the direction I feel I can support.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper?
Yeah, I'm really mixed on this as well because we get quite a few emails on both sides of this issue, and I think some of it does have to do with the funding and maybe that improvement district. That may have been why we received several emails that were in opposition to it. But in any case, it is mixed reviews, and my biggest hang up, if you will, is just the scarcity of resources. And we have a Parks Master Plan that we're about to dive into and try to prioritize. That's many of the projects in there are unfunded at this time. We have no final answer yet on our long-range infrastructure plans and what their costs are going to be, and the long-range revenue plans. And so when this topic came up again last Tuesday, I asked the question, if a vote today is, if I vote yes, am I voting for the quiet zones? And the answer that came back in that meeting was yes, you're voting to go ahead and proceed. And I'm not there yet. So if that's the vote, then it's probably going to be a or no vote. But I'm not against taking the step right now to learn more, to investigate this, and to really drill down on those costs. And I think maybe some other funding sources might surface with some creative thinking. So I'm willing to vote yes, with the caveat that it's baby steps, if you will. And we've been doing baby steps, but I'd like to. I'm not ready to commit, and I'm not ready to put it in a capital improvement plan or any of that at this point.
Councilmember Ray.
I agree with Vice Mayor Cooper's comments that I think it's worth moving forward with that $8,000 number and see what comes back from that. But I do have concerns about the liability. It appears that there are ways to overcome that, or at least make it worth it, as other cities have done. But I'd like some more information on that. So I'm willing to move forward with the $8,000 number, but I'm not ready to jump on the $3 million figure yet. Sure. And it sounds like that $3 million is a conservative estimate, but it's just an estimate. We have no idea what it's really going to come back at.
Thank you. And I make a couple of quick comments to Councilmember Peterson. The thought of a district does make sense, and there's a lot of reasons to do that. Where I started to worry about it is that's a lot of administrative work, and again, government increases to keep track of it, and it just seemed like if we're going to do it, let's just simplify it. But thank you for your comments. And to Vice Mayor Cooper, I realize in the spirit of trying to give a big picture, I did come on strong saying that if we vote yes tonight, that means we are taking steps towards a quiet zone. I will clarify, it's specifically to take a next step to do more research and not binding the council over $3 million. And one nice thing about that, as you bring up the parks plan and other planning that we're doing, is if we do take the next step, that'll help us with planning, and maybe that's not the highest priority immediately, but it could be somewhere down the road, or we could do part of it now and do the rest later, something like that. So all options would be open, and that's not to say to convince you to say yes, but to clarify, as you said, a vote tonight does not mean we have obligated the town to $3 million. But at least we're taking a step towards that, as opposed to if we vote no, then we're saying we're done. Any other clarification? Councilmember Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor. And that's the spirit how I am sort of reading this, and maybe it's sort of a not to exceed, but let's take the next step. And also very mixed on it, but with that, I'm kind of leaning towards, yeah, let's take the next step. I think that would be okay with sort of a not to exceed. I also would like to see it in phases, so there's not that much of an impact to the budget if there's a way to spread it out over a number of years. But the words quiet zone is a misnomer, right? Because the rumbling of the train is very loud, and the signals and bells, those things will cause a lot of noise. So I think with good study and good implementation, it'll have the best impact. And is that direction that we can provide as part of the motion to have it staged versus just a one-year expenditure?
And maybe we don't even have to do that, because we're really saying take the next step to study it. There is, Andy, some clarification from Tuesday's study session. In addition to 8,000, there were a couple of additional expenditures that if we vote yes, are we really just saying 8,000, or is it 8,000 plus a couple of the other steps that you said?
Mayor Lewis, we are just asking for a not to exceed for 8,000 plus the staff time.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion? Is that a motion, or is that another comment?
Well, I have a comment. and again, it may be a misnomer here, but maybe staff can help me. If we establish quiet zones, I mean, the trains can still blow their horn. It doesn't restrict them from blowing the horn. We just give an opportunity that they don't have to, but I'm not saying a train engineer is going to have fun because he won't be, we'll call it given a fine or a penalty. Is that correct?
Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Cook, that is correct. It's still the engineer's discretion whether they feel that they need to blow the whistle.
Thank you. All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd be happy to give a motion, but I would like to make one statement first. It's interesting to me that this topic resurfaces on a regular basis, and that's why I'm voting in favor of proceeding tonight. We have discussed this probably 3 times since I've been on council. I know they discussed it many times prior to that as well. Seems like it's time now for us to take some action, which I'm appreciative of this council taking action. I think that that's a positive for us. But also, our calls and our emails about railroad zones increase in the spring and in the fall when people have their windows open more often. It wasn't too long ago, Mayor, that I received a phone call from an individual that lives close to a high school, upset that the marching band was really loud. So there's lots of noise in the town of Gilbert, and a lot of it is nostalgic, and we're proud of the activities that are going on here. But I am supportive of this in particular, Mayor, because I think it has a benefit to the community as a whole. I don't think it's just that half a mile on either side that benefits from it. I think there could be a benefit to many. I am also interested in phasing in some of it, but I'd like to see those reports come back to us and see us make some decisions as a council. So with that, I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
With that motion and second, please vote. It's approved with a 6-1 vote. Thank you. We return to the public hearing, and I will reopen agenda item 27. And Vice Mayor Cooper, those that were against, and is that group ready?
Mayor, I didn't get any direction from them on what order they would like to speak or anything, and so we're flying blind a little bit unless maybe Rudson would like to introduce that, and maybe
Rustin, thank you for the leadership. We'll let you introduce, and those who are coming to speak, as we have stated, for the record, if you could just state your name if you're a resident of Gilbert. And at this point, we'll plan on 15 minutes.
Mayor, we'll have a running 15-minute clock, and the orange light will come on with 1 minute left. So.
With 1 minute left? Okay, thank you. Rustin, please.
Okay. My name is Rustin Ray, born and raised in Gilbert, full-time Gilbert business owner, currently live in Queen Creek. I would like to, oh, it's not on. Okay. Okay, we have here the citizens' proposal that we submitted in August, and with the discussion that's gone on tonight with the options with adopting the 2012 international codes, we feel that option number 3 comes closest to complying with the requests that we have felt from the citizens of Gilbert, business owners, and all those that we have come in contact with. Amendment number 1 is, and that's if option number 3 includes omitting the energy and green code, which should be the low-hanging fruit, the one that we all agree that is not life safety. Option number 3 was somewhat put into, or amendment number 3 was put into option number 1 from council with no guarantee of what would be removed and what wouldn't, what would or wouldn't be removed. So just to clarify what the council would be passing if they voted to pass option number 1 as proposed by town management. If town management or if town council votes to if town council passes option number 1 as suggested by town management, all these items would still be in the code. All the items that the citizens have been complaining about and have bringing up to the attention of council members. Permits for flagpoles, blower door tests, whole house ventilation. Now, many think those are strictly in the energy code, which they are not. Many of them are in the mechanical code. I have references there for that, Chapter 3 and Chapter 15. AFCI outlets, tamper resistance, carbon monoxide, air duct leakage tests, 75% of light bulbs. That one will be deleted with the energy code, as I understand. Range hood size mandates, no commercial appliances allowed on residential property. No pressure tests allowed on plastic pipes, as plumbers many recommend. Grounding required on detached garages, no bonding requirements for low voltage, breaker ties, on and on and on. All those will still be in there if passed tonight. Also, this other list, all these will remain with no guarantee that they will be removed, with hopes that they will be, but with no guarantee. So with this, the passage of option number 1 as proposed by management, they also expressed tonight that they intend to keep everything that's passed. It will be quite a battle to get any of these approved if outnumbered on the strike force, since their intention has been to keep everything that they passed tonight. So we propose to pass, the option number 3 comes the closest, as proposed by town management and as explained by Councilmember Peterson, that it is a reduction in regulation, although it's not exactly what we have come up with reducing the enforcement to the checklist items, which we feel is the best approach, proven, time-tested over past decades, that we've been going off of. It's not all the way there, but it is reducing regulation on the citizens of Gilbert. So we think that adopting only the more relaxed aspects of the 2012 code is along with eliminating completely the energy and green code, including eliminating the existing 2006 energy code. So with that, I thank the council as well for all their time that they've spent on this, and I hope they understand the difference between the 2 options that have been proposed. Thank you.
Mayor Lewis, Councilman. My name is Steve Ray. I'm a 4th-generation Arizonan. I have lived and raised a family in Gilbert for 24 years. The Ray family's first farm in Arizona was near the corner of what today is Ray Road and Cooper Road. Ray Road was named after my great-grandfather, James Willard Ray. Ellsworth Road was named after one of the sons of my great-grandfather, Edmund Lovell Ellsworth. Both roads for the same reason, that their families were the only families living there. I can't remember at what age my father, Ellsworth Ray, started to take me to work with him at one of the subdivisions he and his brother Oakley Ray developed in Phoenix in the early 1950s. 1959, they incorporated, built 4 model homes on 3200 East Main Street in Mason, began selling homes anywhere in Arizona. After returning from South America, where I had been a regional building supervisor for my father, my father retired and I became vice president of Ray Quality Homes. I later started Vanguard Homes, where I bought 100 lots at Lemon Tree, Val Vista Drive, and Broadway and Mesa. I sold that business to 2 partners and started SRC Homes, Inc. Over the next 20 years, I took raw desert land and developed it through to finished homes. I have seen and experienced a lot of change in home building during my lifetime. I supervised multiple communities simultaneously for the largest home builder in America. I retired as senior director of construction for America's largest apartment complex owner and operator. I may have a year or two more experience in construction than my cousin, but Gordon has probably forgotten more than I know about home building. For what it is worth, this is what I have seen. Layer upon layer of administrative law and building requirements heaped upon the people that create literally thousands of jobs due to that ever-increasing regulations, liabilities, exposure to criminal and civil penalties. The return on investment for many builders has become unattractive and a poor business model. At some point in time, we need to look outside the box that we have unwittingly put ourselves into and try something else. I have shared with you an invitation to a farewell in your packets. After 54 years of struggle to create thousands, if not 10,000s of jobs, depending on how you choose to calculate it, Ray Quality Homes is closing their doors. This is your invitation. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count how many other builders I know that have left the industry to a large extent for the same reason. If you continue down the road you have thus far chosen and adopt the 2012 code, I believe you will ultimately arrive at a place you don't want to be at. Thank you.
Mayor, Councilman, my name is Gordon Ray. I've lived here in Gilbert since 1977. I love Gilbert area. I do not love the way my business has been regulated, especially since the ICC codes have come into existence. From 1978 until 1992, I drew house plans by hand. Most of my plans at that time could be drawn on 2 to 3 pages. I drew several plans for a builder who built many homes in Val Vista Lakes. I drew one plan for that same builder, and he used it in a subdivision in Phoenix. It was drawn on one sheet of paper. That builder used that single page to get his permits and to build over 250 homes. I never had one single red line on that plan. By the way, my price back then was 25 cents a square foot for the livable area. All of those homes are still standing, safe, and structurally sound. That same plan today would have to be drawn on a minimum of 5 to 8 pages, take a week or more for plan review, and be returned at least once with a set of red lines. That home would be no more safe built today using the 2012 ICC codes than it was being built back then. On the town's webpage, the following 3 statements were made as for reasons needed to adopt the new 2012 codes. Statement 1, quote, in order to keep abreast of the latest developments in building, I submit to you that we as builders do not need and do not wait for the codes to come out to be able to adopt and keep abreast of the latest developments in building. Most builders are even ahead of the codes. Statement number 2, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of citizens. Are you telling me that brand new model homes that are for sale in Gilbert right now are not healthy and safe for the citizens and will not be built until they adopt the new codes and start building under the new regulations? I have been in homes in Gilbert built in the mid-20s that are, in my opinion, just as healthy and safe as the new homes will be that would be built under the new 2012 codes. Statement 4, to provide for greater consistency between town and other departments. This statement is a total pipe dream. According to all the subcontractors that I have ever talked to, there is not any consistency in plan review or field inspections, even in Gilbert, and we have been on the same code for nearly 7 years. If anyone thinks for a moment that you can get consistency between towns using the same nearly 10,000 pages of codes and supporting references, you are living in la-la land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, council members and mayor. My name's Alan Taylor. I've lived here in Gilbert for 18 years. I've been a business owner in Gilbert for 13 years. I'm a concrete contractor, and I helped build the Gilbert Temple. And they built that structure, and they built it way over code. Code should be the minimum. not a maximum. They should try to keep the cost down so they can be affordable for everybody that's in our neighborhoods and for all the other townspeople. I had to do a driveway approach, and it cost $1,200 for this homeowner just to spread out his driveway. The fees on that were almost $500, 33%, and the homeowner about died. So we're giving basically the homeowners a huge tax and permits and fees and regulations, and it's taken one of the homeowners over 2 months to get his through. I think it's freedom of choice on all non-structural items. I think it's about simplify, reduce homeowner cost, reduce permit paperwork, reduce government intervention. It's a minimum code, not a maximum. So I think we should be given the opportunity to do all the energy we want, but there are people that can't afford this. Just going with that list of the 30 things on there adds over $15,000 to every new home, which raises the cost for the homeowners, which is our friends and our neighbors that are going to be hit with this huge cost. Custom home permit fees were $6 15 years ago. Now they're almost $15,000. Residential offsite permits, I covered that already. New codes are a lot more complicated, and there's a lot more pages, and it's very difficult for the contractors to follow these, as well as the inspectors. I can't tell you how many times the inspectors have come out there and said, no, this is what I want. Will plan review approve the set? And when they've approved it, then that's what we should follow. But the inspectors say, no, I want you to do this. This is the new code. And so there's a lot of problems out in the industry. I have to deal with inspectors on a weekly basis, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of inconsistency out there in the plans. And the more regulations we add, the 4,000 more pages we're going to have causes more conflict and problems for the homeowners. And it's also more expense for the government as well as the homeowners. And so I'd like to stand up for all the homeowners and say, please, please, we're trying to be conservative. And I know all the council members, I've heard you all at one time say, we're running because we want to be conservative. Well, I'd like you to be conservative for the homeowners and think about the cost that you're throwing on them with these new regulations. Thank you.
Mayor and council members, my name is Calvin Johnson. I used to be a resident of Gilbert from about 85 to 2001. Since then, I've moved to Queen Creek. My home was too small for my family. It was interesting. 2 days ago, I was in Camp Verde working on a project up there. I talked to an inspector. I says, what are your feelings on the 2012 codes? He says the state is forcing them on us. I talked to a council member in that same area. He said the state is forcing them on us, and the federal government is forcing them down onto the state. The people that are actually doing it are the lobbyists of these big corporations that are making the things, that are making the money of this stuff. So the final end is the homeowner. And we've all heard the thing that crap runs downhill. The federal government's dumping on us, and the end consumer is the one that's biting it the most.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, the next group.
Mayor, we did receive one more for...
May I actually say one thing?
Here.
I mean, I'll make it real quick.
Please.
Right here, what I have is 24 letters from business owners.
Oh, and if you can state your name and if you're a Gilbert resident, please.
All right, my name is Marcus Ray. I'm not a Gilbert resident. I was born in Arizona. My dad was born in Arizona. I am the nephew of Gordon, and I'm here to show my support. Right here, we have 24 letters from Gilbert homeowners and business owners against the regulations, and we have 14 names right here of people who wanted to come and didn't have time to write a letter. I would like to be able to hand these to you. And
please. And it'll be going right over here, please. Thank you for making that effort. So Vice Mayor Cooper.
Mayor, we have 3 that are for, and I think you said 5 minutes.
Was there a neutral one too?
And then there's a neutral as well, so that we did add one.
Okay, so for the 5 minutes for the 3?
5 minutes, well, there's a total of 4 now, so do you want to amend that to 6, or?
Well, I think the 5 for the 3 works, and that's about a minute and a half per person. So if those 3 could
So
work as a
Kathy
team.
Tilke, Greg Olson, and Dale Vols. We'll do it in that order.
Good evening. Again, Mayor and Council, Kathy Tilke with the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce. First of all, I appreciate the grassroots efforts of citizens and businesses in the community to come forward and talk to you. We spent the last year looking at these codes, and we've been before you and recommended that we move forward. In the spirit of compromise, at the last meeting, we agreed to participate in a strike force, hoping that we could move forward with this with the building codes. Obviously, we would prefer them to be adopted as presented. Again, in the spirit of compromise, I'm coming before you to say, if we need to pull those items with the energy and the environment to the strike force, we're willing to do that. We've already given our names of people who are experts in the field who will sit on the strike force. And so I just wanted to share with you, we're trying to compromise on this and work with you, but after about 2 years of discussion, I think it's time to move forward, and it's time to be a leader in this particular area. Gilbert is built on standards, and we're very proud of what we have. And with that, I don't want to take the others' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. My name is Greg Olson. I live in Gilbert, and I'm here tonight representing the Small Business Alliance Free Enterprise Committee. In recognition and appreciation of the many hours and resources invested into this discussion, we would like to thank all of the people and organizations that are weighing in on this. We believe that our best outcomes happen with healthy discussion and input from all stakeholders. With that being said, the SBA had previously presented a position and recommended to adopt the 2012 building codes, including the energy code, and adopting the green code as an option. Oh, this helps. In the spirit of working together tonight, we are in support of option 1, adopting the 2012 ICC building codes with the exception of the energy code and the green code, and referring the energy and green codes as well as the amendments proposed by the NNCIA group to the task force, okay, that will make recommendations to the town council by the end of the year. We'd like to take an opportunity to look at all of that and discuss it and bring options to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Lewis, members of the council, thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Dale Volz. I am a resident of Gilbert. My wife and I built our home here, raised our children here 38 years ago because we truly believe then and know now that Gilbert is a community of excellence, and we have never thought about leaving this community. I personally support the full implementation of the 2012 ICC and IECC codes. And I can't believe that we're back here now, and we should have approved what was proposed and introduced 3 months ago. But we're here. So I will support option 1, although I'm deeply troubled that we're talking about tossing out the conservation and energy codes. They're critical. So I encourage you, if you must go forth and make a vote tonight, pass option 1, and then let's work on those energy codes. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
The final one there, Sharon Bonesteel.
Mayor Lewis, Council, I put myself down as neutral because having my name put forward as a building code expert to help serve on your strike force committee, I want to work for the town of Gilbert to be an expert on how the codes are developed, why they're developed, how they're put together, what they mean, and I want to remain as neutral as I possibly can. I work for SRP. and I'm a part of the SRP family. And because seeing both sides of arguments has always been a real personal interest of mine, I took the time, and I want to thank the Ray family, because I got to spend some time with Rutson and Gordon and understand. Will you grant me a little more?
That the neutral one started over. So
Thank you.
you probably have at least a full minute.
I spent some time with the Rays, got to better understand their concept of the free market. And while I may not agree that we have enough time to let all those things come to play, I understand your position, and I really want to work with you. One of the things I want to put out there, though, is I belong to a family, too, the SRP family. And we've been around for a long time, formed by ranchers and farmers who wanted to control the way water was delivered so that they wouldn't be flooded out, control power so that we could have good, clean, reasonable power and water for the people. And we continue to work on that. We're a very old, established entity, too. And we haven't been around that long by adopting extreme measures. So when SRP hired somebody to work with adopting the latest codes and helping cities and towns better understand the impact of the energy code on our infrastructure and our ability to deliver services in the future, it was a statement that they see that as something that needs to be considered. But we also deeply respect the right of the town to define their own future. So we encourage your adoption and accept option 1. I will work my hardest to help the individuals on the strike force fully understand. And as Ms. Daniels said, education is the key. I want to be able to help bring the background of why certain things are in the residential code, and the mechanical code, and the energy code, and help support your staff in providing information as best I can. Thank you for that opportunity, and we will continue to offer the citizens of Gilbert our support as best we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, we've had one more, it appears, neutral on the card. Or
Yes, Mayor, I overlooked it earlier, and it is, we'd love to hear from Emelina Turley.
Thank you, Mayor Lewis and council members. I know most of you. It's good to see you. I'm Emelina Turley. I live in Queen Creek, though I was a resident of Gilbert for many, many years, almost 2 decades. So I feel like I'm home. I'm wearing 2 hats tonight. I'll be very brief, but as I said, I'm a Queen Creek member of that city, and I'm also on the Republican committee, as I'm on the board as secretary. Queen Creek is watching town of Gilbert, and I remember helping elect most of you. And as I recall, we did, you did all fall on the conservative Republican platform. I think it's not arguable that thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of regulation of which you have no capacity to read, nor even particularly understand, as I've seen, even our contractors don't understand them all. So I appreciate you all, and I want to remind you that I think it's clear tonight from your citizens, those that you represent, your constituents, those who elected you into office, and I hope that you will remember that we do care. We are town of Gilbert. We don't follow what everyone else is doing. I think that's clear. We've been here a long time. We seek less government, not more. And in closing, I haven't seen any news breaking comments about some problem with the codes as they are. I'm also in the building industry, and I would not go to I would not go to Victor if I had a problem with education. I would go to Jared. And I hope that you will listen to all of our builders, our free market, our enterprise, our small builders are important. I think the town of Gilbert has spoken very clearly today, and I come all the way to Queen Creek to say I hope that you set an example because we watch you as a conservative sister city. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, that is the end, okay. Council members, do we have some more questions of any of our town staff, or do you want to make some comments? Councilmember Ray?
I have some further comments I can make, but I just want to make two quick points from some of the comments that we've heard so far. Is number one, these building codes, if accepted, if not accepted, really have nothing to do with anything fee related. So this isn't, by accepting codes or not accepting codes, I don't think that means we like the fees, we don't like the fees. I think that's a different topic, and that probably should be addressed. And then also the other thing that's not addressed with this is the consistency between reviewers within the town of Gilbert and or within the town and the city of Mesa, city of Chandler, et cetera. And that's a very valid topic that I think needs further discussion. But tonight's point with the building codes, I don't want fees and consistency between viewers to be confused because they're completely different topics.
Thank you. Other comments at this point? Councilmember Peterson?
Just one closing comment. If we go with option one, make no mistake, that would be an immediate increase in regulation overall. So I just make that final comment.
Okay. Councilmember Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate all the different groups. I think they're very sincere, and I think they've really done a lot of homework, on this particular issue and come into different conclusions. But it's been I think very healthy to see some of the compromises, and I think option one has some strengths in it, and there is some true compromise on a lot of those. But I think the whole thing is we're kind of having the wrong discussion a little bit. The whole illusion that government is going to keep us all safe by mandating certain things. I reflect back to a comment Councilmember Cook said the last time about a self-regulated model, and I'd love to have that discussion, because instead of the discussion about we're going to meet the government mandates, then we would change the discussion to the businesses competing on the basis of quality in terms of energy or conservation or structural integrity or things like that, and then to be able to really advertise that. And we see that in other industries. Love to have that discussion, but I think that the option here that gets us into that discussion the best is option 3, because what it does is it creates more of a floor. It brings the best of the 6, the 9, the 12. So in a way, we're adopting 12 and 9, the best of those, because it's in my opinion, the definition of best is those that loosen up the regulations. And the discussion really needs to be, and we see this in some builders, where they'll go and they'll run the 2012 codes and they'll advertise it or above those codes, because that's a competitive advantage for them in the marketplace. And to me, I think that's the one that I lean towards, because it does send the right message, which is we want to dial back the regulations, certainly what I ran on and what I'm committed to the citizens to. But it doesn't stop any business if that's what they want to do, and they really believe in the energy codes and the conservation codes and the 12 family or the 15 when it comes down. We'll support all of that. We're just not mandating it. We're just not forcing them to do that. And so I think that's where the strength is, because it changes the discussion a little bit. It allows the market more flexibility. And then where we see that there's really valid science or valid reason to mandate something that comes along, maybe in the fire code, because I think there's some, strengths there that we learn over time, and then we can take those one by one, or the strike force can look at those, and then we can, lock those in as we find that wise, rather than just the whole load of hay. I think that's a little bit more prudent, and This year, in my employment, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the building that we're in. It was built in 1913, and that thing is strong. Wasn't built with any codes. It's had a lot of integrity in it. We run a great business out of it. Certainly, we've had to add things like sprinklers and things like that, and I think that's wise. But I think that option 3 for me is really what gives us the best brings in the best of the 12 and the 9 and the 6, so those that want that get that. And anyway, those are my thoughts, Mayor. Thank you for the time.
Councilmember Cook.
Well, first of all, I want to thank many folks that have shared with us on, we'll call it both sides. And there's no doubt what that has done for me has really enforced the idea of collaboration and teamwork, which we, Mayor, as you know, that's important. And that's why, to me, I think option 2 is the right option. And I'm going to stick with that. I'm not going to vote for option 1, and I'm not going to vote for option 3, because I do believe that we have an opportunity here to allow the collaboration, that strike team to work together here. And to me, that's who I am. I'm a collaborative individual. I want the opportunity for our community, our business leaders, our residents to have that opportunity. We are not compelled to move forward with these codes. Our staff has lived this through the 2009. You know, we can go through a little bit with the 2012. And I really strongly encourage that all of us on the council would reconsider that option 2 be a viable option. So again, I won't be voting for option 1 or option 3 tonight.
Larry, could you come back to the podium? And I'll ask a couple of questions and then we'll continue. What, one of the concerns with option 3 is, and I appreciate the creative thinking and trying to bring it together, is it still seemed a little bit loose, and if option 3 were approved, I was having a hard time, and you did some more work, and I thank you for that, and I was having a hard time finding time today to dig in and look at it, so that's part of my concern. Is I'm not really sure if I fully understand 3, and if we approved it, what exactly the strike force would focus on, and then if someone came to get an inspection or a permit, we would still have a lot of, I would call them loose ends, as far as how we would clearly state this is what is there and what isn't. And the option 2, one of the reasons why option 1 was coming forward is we wanted to make a decision. We wanted to just have some of the discussion the strike force would deal with out of the way so they could focus on some of the key things. And so, representing Councilmember Cook for a moment, if option 2 were selected, the desire to have the strike force have answers by the end of the year so we could move on to other things and have the decisions made, what would option 2 mean if you convened a meeting, and what would the time frame be? Where we're trying to speed this up, have where the council was very close to some decisions. Talk about option 2 for just a moment. What would you do, and what would you focus on, and how long would it take?
Mayor Lewis, thank you. For either option 2 or option 3 would require going back to the codes and spending time considering all of those codes with the stakeholders group. I would foresee that we would probably have staff go through them first prior to meeting with the stakeholders, so we have more information to be able to give them. For example, in option 3, we're talking about trying to extract the things that are less restrictive, and so that wasn't our focus the first time around. It was just to pull out the things that were that we felt would impact the contractors and the businesses the most. So those were the focuses. So in either one of those cases, I would conservatively estimate 10 to 12 months based on the time we've already spent and our workload today and trying to keep up with our current service levels.
And in the meantime, an option 2 or option 3 then would we just continue to do the 2006 codes?
That would be correct.
Okay, and that's what Mace is doing?
That's correct.
And as we talked about this 2 or 3 months ago, a lot of the communities have adopted 2012. So for consistency, there will continue to be struggles in the valley. There have been, and from the detailed discussions we've had, there have been some positives, I believe, where for 2015, there's starting to be some dialogue to say, could we have not just Gilbert, but more of a county focus on trying to come up with something? Is that true? Or is that in the early stages of a good idea, but nothing has happened?
Mayor Lewis, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. All right. Other comments at this point?
Mayor, everything that needs to be said, I think, has been said. And I almost feel like option 2. I really feel like we've done option 2. Everyone that has been asked to appoint members to the task force has been involved in the process for over a year, and they have dug through the code and provided us plenty of input. And again, I was ready to do what our business community was asking us to do a couple of months ago. And this option 1 is really a compromise in my mind, and I'm willing to do it just to move something forward. And I think it will meet the needs of the business community, the majority of the business community anyway. And so maybe to short circuit this, let's just maybe test, or I'll even make the motion on option 1. If for some reason it doesn't pass, then I know there's options that are in waiting, but maybe we could just do that. And then I will look to the attorney to tell us, as if I do make that motion, do I need to read what you provided to us, or does the council understand what option 1 is, and can I refer to it?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Cooper, members of the council, I believe that the motion would be so technical, leaving out some things, including others, that it should be read as presented, unless you intend to make a change to, to include another include another code to the strike force, or exclude a code from the strike force.
Okay. Vice Mayor Cooper, if I appreciate that. That's the time to make a decision. It would help maybe Councilmember Ray, Councilmember Daniels, just to see if you had some comments that would be helpful, and then I'd be open for that. Can we have a couple more minutes? So
30 seconds.
30 seconds. 20.
30 seconds. Turn the time on, Mark.
Councilmember Ray.
In reference to what's being discussed now, I appreciate Councilmember Cook's comments. He has always done a great job in bringing people together, and I like option 2 when it comes to the 2015 codes. I agree with Vice Mayor Cooper. This has been talked about for months, if not years. The Small Business Alliance, the Chamber, the NNCIA group, town officials, people have been talking about this for a very long time. I don't think that going back and starting with an option 2 at this point is going to put us in any different position in 12 months than we are today. And so I would recommend option number 2 as we look towards the 15 codes, and that would be a great time to potentially team up with the City of Mesa, with the county, with Chandler, other jurisdictions, so that we can get that truly consistent code base across the different, at least in the East Valley, and preferably the state on the same codes. But I think at this point, for what we're talking about tonight in these codes, I think we're better to move forward and use option 2 as we get closer to the 15 codes. And I don't know exactly when those come out, when those are discussed, but I think that would be a great option for that set.
Councilmember Daniels.
I wish I had something brilliant to add, Mayor. I don't. I feel like I've exhausted my comments to this end, and I'm ready for a vote.
Okay. And Larry, on option 1, what would the strike force, if option 1 is selected, what does the strike force do as the priorities over the next 2 months?
Mayor Lewis, there are, as I counted anyway, there's 32 items that we would be addressing, including the energy code and the green code.
Okay. Councilmember.
If I can just make a quick comment on that. I was one of the people who said, let's move forward with these codes and let's look at those options. Just the people in this room know this already, but for those who may not have been in previous meetings, these 32 items that we're talking about come directly from the NNCIA group. This isn't something that the council came up with as a number of items, or that even town staff came back and said, these are the 32 items we're concerned with. And I appreciate the Chamber and the Small Business Alliance and some of the other business community members who have come down and said, okay, we're willing to talk about those 32 items. And so comments were made that that 32 item list may not have been inclusive of everything. That list was brought to the council and to the town by this NNCIA group, and I appreciate their willingness to put those items forward as a compromise from their end. And I understand that as the option number 1 is written is not exactly the compromise that the group asked for, but it's pretty darn close to what they asked for. And so I want to make it clear where those 32 items came from. It wasn't just decided by council members.
Okay, I did see one more hand, and then we'll go to the motion. So, Councilmember Peterson.
Mayor, I beg to differ. I don't think it's very close at all to what they were asking for. In fact, the one that I'm suggesting is still not even quite what they were asking for. So I don't think that that's the case. And Mayor, I was hoping I could make a small, simple motion, and then we could move on to the other one first. It wouldn't be my full motion, just to see if we can handle one issue tonight. If not, well, I'll let you guys make...
Councilmember Peterson, and let me just, in fairness to Vice Mayor Cooper, who I interrupted on his motion, I think I, in an integrity manner, need to go back to that, and we'll see how it goes. And as he said, if there's not support, we can move forward. I will just add a quick sentence or two. The tough part, and this is why probably tonight to Councilmember Cook, the option 2 was starting to sound more appropriate because of the same thing 2 or 3 months ago that we both said we're struggling with the lack of expertise in this area, and so it almost becomes, I feel like we're on the playground to say, what team are you going to pick, and we've got individuals that we trust and appreciate in this room. And so that's a hard part, because all of these individuals have put a lot of time into it, and they're respected, and we appreciate them. And so I appreciate you not wanting to vote for 1 or 3. There are a lot of individuals in this room that have also taken time on the 1 that have had some influence on me, and so thank you for almost swaying me. The 10 to 12 months was the hard part. So, okay, please.
Mayor, and I'll just add kind of a second, if you will, to the concept that Councilmember Ray said about getting the strike team together early on the 2015 codes. I think that would satisfy several of us, and I'll look to staff to help us understand when the right time for that is. But the motion is this. I move that the council adopt the proposed Building and Construction Regulations Code of the Town of Gilbert, Arizona 2013 edition, and the 2012 editions of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Fire Code, the 2011 National Electric Code, the 2013 Code for the Enforced Removal and Abatement of Prohibited Conditions, and the Arizona with Disabilities Act, all as amended by the Building and Construction Regulations Code of the Town of Gilbert, Arizona 2013 edition, while specifically excluding for further review by the Select Advisory Strike Team and subsequent recommendations to the Council, the following codes and all proposed Gilbert amendments thereto: the 2012 International Energy Conservation Code, the 2012 International Green Construction Code, and Chapter 11 of the 2012 International Residential Code.
And then, did you want to say something about 2015, or just have, not in the formal, but direction to staff? Okay.
Council, yeah, just direction there.
Okay. Is there a second?
I know you took out the Chapter 11. I just want to go back to Larry. I do remember there was another chapter similar to that in another book like chapter 13, maybe in the commercial, and it was kind of some blank pages that had energy written on it. Could you share a little bit about maybe possibly that chapter also coming out of that? I can't remember what book it was in. I think it was in commercial, and it was one of the energy chapters. Because I know we're talking about chapter 11 in the residential, but there was also one in the commercial.
Mayor Lewis, Councilman Cook, I'm trying to remember that conversation as well. It was a couple of months ago. But I believe that those were blank pages and there was no energy in those pages. I think we're relatively safe taking the energy code out as well as the Chapter 11 of the IRC.
And again, when I saw the blank pages, I don't know if they were placeholders for that piece or not, but again, I'm thinking here that maybe we might include that chapter as well. Even though they're blank, I just wanted to, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. Right, there's nothing there to adopt or not adopt in that chapter, as I recall.
I think for now, my motion stands.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Mayor, I move to amend the motion to repeal the 2006 International Energy Conservation Code, as well as Chapter 11 of the 2006 International Residential Code, and all Gilbert amendments, if any, to both, and adopt the 2013 Code for the enforced removal or abatement of prohibited conditions. That's all of my amendment.
Second.
Was that option 3?
It's not, Mayor. It's as little as I can amend and still have it be an amendment and be in order.
Removes the current law or code that we have on energy and
basically it keeps the part about the enforced removal and abatement that you moved. So I've amended by keeping a piece, and I've added to that amendment by repealing. I've removed the other parts, but I've also repealed the energy code.
Okay. All right, there's a motion and a second on that. Please vote. That's not approved with a 5-2 vote. Back to the original motion, please. So we have a motion and a second, so please vote on that. That's approved with a 4-3 vote. Thank you. Thank you again for all participants. And Strike Force, Larry, please proceed. Agenda item number 30, Boards, Commission, and Committee reports. Vice Mayor Cooper, please.
This may fall more under current events or future meetings or something like that. I'm trying to pull it up, and Councilmember Daniels can help me, but there are 2 transportation planning, transportation master plan public open houses next week, Tuesday and Wednesday night at 6 p.m. The Tuesday one is where? I'll look it up. I've got it. The Wednesday, I know, is at the Higley Unified School District offices. And Tuesday, I apologize, Eric's probably not here anymore. Should have been ready. Is at the Islands Community Center. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Opportunities for input on the Transportation Master Plan.
Thank you. Other updates? Councilmember Taylor?
Mayor, I would just like to update you on a matter with the Human Relations Commission. They met last night, and that was their annual time to elect new officers. And in fact, I see Craig here. He was elected as the new chair of the Human Relations Commission, effective as of our next meeting in December. So we're looking forward to working with him, and they've got lots of good ideas and plans, and just wanted to note that for this evening.
Thank you. And congratulations. Good. Any other updates?
Just one. Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee is hosting Youth Town Hall this December. Applications for our high school age students are due by November 16th, and that application can be found on the gilbertaz.gov website under the MYAC page, MYAC, Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee page. And it's going to be a great event. They have great topics, great expert speakers, and it's an opportunity for our youth to participate in local government and see how we can bring back some positive recommendations to this council and to the community on how to solve some of the problems facing our teens. So I encourage our youth to participate.
Thank you. Agenda item 32, future meetings. I might just note on the town calendar, something we haven't talked about, but the council is invited to this, as well as the entire community. On Tuesday, November 19th, is the annual Interfaith Thanksgiving Music Celebration. It will be held at the First United Methodist Church. Agenda item 33, report from town manager on current events.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Agenda item 34, report from council on current events. Councilmember Ray.
You gave a great overview of some of the upcoming calendar items that we have, Mayor. One that we want to add to that, this Saturday at Santan Mall is the annual car show where the intent is to raise money from the police department for the Special Olympics. So 10:30 Saturday morning, a classic car show, muscle cars, etc. Will be a fun time, and you can't beat the weather right now.
Thank you. Councilmember Cook.
I was approached from the Child Crisis Center. They asked me to provide a challenge to the council. As the holiday season approaches, they asked if each council member might be so kind to donate a roll of gift wrapping paper that could be used to gift wrap presents for foster children. So I would like to provide that challenge to all of us. If you could bring a roll and leave it at the council office, I will be glad to pick it up.
And would you be the repository?
I'll be the repository on behalf of the Child Crisis Center.
Thank you for that opportunity.
Just a reminder to our fellow council members to indicate to Kurt Sharp how many members of your family will be participating in our Gilbert Days Parade. He hasn't heard from very many of us yet, so if we could report to him with that number. And also a reminder about Festival of Trees coming up. And
so we're probably thinking one parade at a time. We've got Saturdays covered, but that would be helpful. Let's just say by next Tuesday, we get the parade done Saturday, and by next Tuesday?
by tomorrow, Mayor, in case anybody forgets, just let Kurt know. Send him an email.
And it's how many in the family will be part of the Gilbert Days Parade on November 23rd. Okay, thank you. Report from Mayor on current events. I think I did a really good job of sliding all mine in already, and so thank you. Meeting adjourned.